Hello, this is Jim for the Monopoly Project. We're here on Val Vista Lakes to do our floating book review. We're on the Monopoly Project yacht. Every successful real estate investor has a yacht, and this Monopoly Project yacht, unfortunately, it's the Bikini Girls' day off, so you just have me, and I'm floating on Val Vista Lakes. Early May, it's just about sunset. The sun's just, I think, that's why I'm squinting a bit. And also, you're getting a slightly different view of me than normally, because I came on board with my tripod, which I normally set the camera on, and I dropped it, and the thing actually broke off. The thing that holds it, you can see it's cracked, broken right here. So I propped up the phone recorder on the front of the console here, and we'll do it from here and see how it works. It's interesting, we bought that tripod 30 years ago, and Michelle and I, when we first got married and moved to Virginia. We've had that tripod forever, and so anyway, let's get on to our book reviews. This time I had to write notes down because we were actually scheduled to be at a city planning meeting this evening. City planning meeting to go over some signage for an adjacent property which we were going to speak in favor of, and the meeting was canceled because of a lack of a quorum. And so I got the free evening, and I jumped in here to do the book review. So let's start with the first of the 6 book reviews. Okay, Jim, on our first floating book review for May 5th, books we read in April, and this one here is Jesus' Mysterious Space-Time Universe. And if you remember, we had reviewed Gerald Paul Kooyers, the author's book on Fourfold Kingdom of God last month, and we didn't give it a very high review. But I saw this little short book. It's maybe 76 pages, paperback, and I figured I'd give him another shot at it. Unfortunately, there's really nothing new in this book. Maybe it was because it was written before Fourfold was, and Fourfold has a bigger exposition. And I did want to say that in the previous book review, I said that his name is Gerald Paul Kooyers, 2 Pauls. And apparently that's not true. It seems to be an Amazon artifact. It's on Amazon, but in all of his materials, he does not have 2 Pauls. And so that's interesting. I did want to go over, like I said, there's really nothing new in it, but I did want to go over a few points. Like on page 21, he says wave functions are a sort of mystical mathematical expression. And I found that a strange statement for a physicist to say, because mathematical equations aren't mystical, they're just mathematics. So I'm not sure where he's coming from on that. And we'll talk more about math and physics here in a minute. And then on page 28, he says, the atomic particle in the box in essence decides by itself when it is to decay into other particles. And of course he's talking about the famous Schrodinger's cat example of the quantum nature of decay. But it's interesting, again, as a physicist, that he's personifying atomic particles, because they don't really decide. It's purely a statistical matter on when they decay. There's no decision process. I mean, I understand it as a literary device, but again, it's kind of weird to see that from a physicist. Page 29, he makes the comment, I have not found a really good reference in the Bible that clearly makes that statement. And in that statement, it has often been said that God hates sin. Actually, there's a whole lot of examples of that, and I'm going to put them on the blog post. I won't quote them here, and mostly it's statements along the line that God abhors or hates something, depending on the translation you find, and it's haughty eyes and all these things that are examples of sin. And so I got to disagree with Gerald there, that there are many references that says God hates sin. And then on page 32, he says, by God, by God. A lot of what are called miracles then are just possible events in the distribution of possibilities. And again, he's talking about quantum mechanics and how, you know, basically the wave function says there's a whole bunch of possibilities. And I got to disagree with that from a physicist who's interested in theology and Christianity, because that just means that it's a possible outcome, and that's just the one you roll the dice in God. I think when God does miracles, it's literally a miracle in the sense that it's a violation of the physical laws as we know it of this universe. And to do that, it isn't just a chance occurrence, it's an actual miracle, something that would have never happened, not that it's just a very small possibility. And so, and again on page 38, he talks about an electron traveling backward in time is called a positron. These particles are usually called antimatter, and this I sort of have to disagree with him. It's you know, physicists use this traveling back in time, and that's what the equations say. But to me, this is a bigger example of, you know, popularizing physicists trying to put the mathematical formulas which describe our universe into words, as opposed to just what the mathematics states and predicts. And it might work for like things that are intuitive, like Newton's laws, you know, force, you know, F equals ma, and for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. Those are all very common things in our world, and so you can explain Newton's equations in words. But when you start to get to things like quantum mechanics and special relativity, general relativity, the mathematics is not intuitive. It doesn't come out to what we see, and trying to put it into words just leads to confusion. And so I just don't think that you can consider, for example, a positron is an electron moving backward in time. That's what the equation says, and you can use the equation to develop all sorts of devices, you know, including the cell phone I'm recording this on. But it's an attempt to put the formula into words, and the formula is not intuitive, and so our words can't contain it or figure it out. And I got a couple other examples. He goes on, and it's getting dark under the bridge, so page 49, when he talks about quantum entanglement. I'm trying to get some light. Probably he's talking about Professor Muller suggested this because quantum entanglement is impossible to understand in logical terms in the present physics thinking about the universe. And again, I think this is an example of trying to take general relativity and quantum mechanics and the equations and the things they predict, and trying to put them into words in human thoughts when the answers are so counterintuitive and so beyond our grasp that it doesn't make any sense. And so I don't think they're impossible to understand in logical terms if we just agree that our words we don't have the words to describe a lot of quantum and relativity effects. They just are non-intuitive. And then again on page 72, another example of that same thought. So now I'm not providing you with a very esoteric mathematical expressions with hard to understand mathematical equations to prove all this like a good physicist. Well, I guess my point is that if you don't present the equations, then it isn't really physics. It's just speculation, which is fine, but it's certainly not falsifiable in the sense that you can run experiments. So anyway, I thought I'd give Gerald Paul Kooyers another chance. Again, I was looking for some really interesting speculation, but I didn't really see that, and so I guess I'm done with him. The first two books, the two books we got. So in any case, this is Jim from the Monopoly Project. We're coasting along here. You can see it's a little past sunset. The sun's below the horizon. We're going to try and get a few more book reviews in here.